Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today we're going to be taking some time to just talk about a small bit of the information that Paizo revealed at Paizocon this year. While no new rulebooks were announced, we got an absolute ton of information. I'm not surprised that they didn't announce anything like any new big rulebooks, since, the remaster has got to be an all-hands-on-deck situation at Paizo. So I'm absolutely content with what we got. Today, though, rather than talking about that remaster and what we learned about it, I'd like to talk about what we learned regarding Howl of the Wild and Rage of the Elements. Both are books that were previously announced, but we got some very fun stuff from them. Alright, so let's handle Howl of the Wild first. I somehow managed to completely miss this announcement, since I was avoiding the internet entirely, seeing as Tears of the Kingdom was just released. But it is a very cool book. It's the next big monster book coming from Paizo, in a similar vein as the Book of the Dead. Rather than focusing on the undead, like the Book of the Dead though, Howl of the Wild is focused on animals, beasts, and nature in general. So yeah, there's going to be a ton of new animals and beasts for GMs to use, and from what Paizo has said, I'm really looking forward to this one. They've mentioned that in Pathfinder 1st Edition, animals often were really boring since they basically would just pounce you or grapple you or rake you, and that was basically it for the entire group of creature. So they are intentionally trying to make stat blocks that will make more interesting combats, which is great. The couple of creatures that they've already talked about, such as the Spellsong Lyrebird, seem absolutely fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to them. For the record, a Spellsong Lyrebird is a bird that has learned to copy the sounds made by wizards when they cast spells. So it's a bird that can cast Fireball. Nature is crazy, man. What might be a bit more interesting for non-GMs out there, though, is that Howl of the Wild is going to have a grand total of 6 different ancestries in it, which we've already learned of 2. They're all going to be wild and connected to nature directly in some form or another. And yeah, they're going to be really cool. I'm personally hoping for some kind of general insect ancestry, where the different heritages cover different types of insect, so like an ant, a bee, and a beetle heritage. It's a niche that currently isn't being filled anywhere, and I'd rather see a general insect heritage than here are the ant people. Paizo could always give us a 5th way to play some form of lizard person though, if that's what they want. The first ancestry that has been revealed is minotaurs. I'm sure that people know what a minotaur is, but the most interesting thing is that they're actually going to be large-sized all the way from level 1, which is going to be really interesting. They're apparently going to have tons of associations with labyrinths, which are going to be both physical and mental, and just a lot of stuff with divine magic, and they're going to have some way to throw their allies around, which I am absolutely looking forward to seeing how that's implemented, because the Fastball Special is a classic for a reason. The other ancestry that they have announced already is centaurs. Similar to minotaurs, centaurs are large from level 1, though they have a lot of differences everywhere else in how their feats are handled. Apparently, they are pretty well rounded, but I'm also willing to bet that centaurs are going to be the new fastest ancestry in the game since, the horse part. But what's almost more interesting is that there's going to be feats removing the normal penalties for allowing PCs to use you as a mount? Meaning that you can actually team up with another PC to get into some really janky mounted combat, and I am here for it. Honestly, one of the most significant changes that I'm interested in seeing is the rules for large PCs, and by extension, some rules that you can then use for large creatures, even if they aren't PCs. Whenever Paizo released the Sprite Ancestry, they had a sidebar about how to play with a tiny-sized PC, so I'm willing to bet that they're going to do something similar with Howl of the Wild. Mainly, I'm interested in an actual ruling from Paizo about what to do whenever a large creature wants to move down a 5-foot wide hallway. I'm pretty sure that it should just be difficult terrain, but you could also rule that it should be an acrobatics check to squeeze. I'm looking forward to the clarification, alright? And also, if you don't want to play minotaurs or centaurs as large, there is a heritage for each that makes you merely medium-sized. Moving on though, Rage of the Elements looks like it's going to be absolutely amazing. There is going to be a bunch of new archetypes, new elemental planes, new Geniekin elemental heritages, and a new Barbarian Instinct. I'm very glad that Barbarians are getting an elemental instinct, since it's literally in the name of the book. Like, if there wasn't going to be a literal Rage of the Elements in Rage of the Elements, I'd be pretty mad. Probably the last specific hope I have of seeing one particular thing in Rage of the Elements that I haven't seen Paizo mention at all is an elemental eidolon for summoners, because really, summoners need an elemental eidolon. The majority of the new information that we learned, though, regarding mechanics, is regarding the Kineticist. I'm a huge fan of Kineticists, and good god did this class look interesting. For people who aren't aware, the Kineticist is basically a class for people who want to bend elements like they're from Avatar all day long, unlike how spellcasters have to manage their spell slots, with a bit of over-the-top anime bullshit topped in for good measure. We didn't learn a huge amount about the specific changes that were made to the Kineticist class mechanics since the playtest, but we did get some of them. Rather than gathering an element like in the playtest where you gathered into one hand, you now are activating your kinetic aura, which seems like it's going to be giving you boosts of some sort or another, which then allow you to use impulses of that element. I'm willing to bet that the more that you focus on a particular element, the larger those boosts get, but you lose out on the versatility of having multiple boosts available by being able to channel multiple different elements. We only really know a bit more information about the base class features of the Kineticist. Thankfully, they will be getting legendary class DC proficiency, which is sorely needed, and additionally, kinetic blasts function a bit differently. We don't know the specifics, but apparently, if you spend 2 actions to use a blast, you can then add your Constitution modifier to the damage roll, which is also sorely needed, speaking as someone who's currently playing a playtest Kineticist, and really struggles whenever I run into anything with damage resistance. Also, speaking of Kinetic Blast, it seems like they're going to be getting capped at a +2 item bonus to attack, which is a little unfortunate, but it is pretty reasonable considering that they're getting legendary class DC. You can't, have the both of 2 worlds. You gotta reduce one of them. That is very reasonable. Finally, Kineticists are getting something called gate junctions as they level up. Apparently, one way of using these is to get skill junctions, which can give you training in skills, particular skill feats, and a bonus to a particular skill while your aura is active. I have no idea what on earth these skill junctions or the gate junctions are gonna look like. Really, I have absolutely no idea. But I'm really looking forward to learning out what they are in around about a month or so. We did learn a little bit more about the Kineticist though, specifically in regards to impulses. We saw all of the new water impulses, and all 6 elements are going to be getting 2 pages of impulses each. And then there's also dual element impulses that you can only take and use if you have access to more than one element. I'm guessing that means that there's probably going to be about 14 pages of impulse feats alone, though there could easily be more if there's more than one dual element impulse for each of the 15 different element combinations. This class is going to be absolutely massive. It's ridiculous. So yeah, you could say I'm mildly excited for Howl of the Wild and Rage of the Elements. I'm holding off really sitting down and analyzing these for the nitty-gritty of mechanics until I've got the full material in my hands, since it's impossible to make any real claim regarding the Kineticist functionality without having their core class features. But I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. I am looking forward to Rage of the Elements more than I was looking forward to the Dark Archive, which is saying something. Thanks for watching. This video didn't even cover anything that was said about the remaster, and it already got this long, but don't worry, I'll talk about all the remaster stuff in another video. But for now, what part of Howl of the Wild and/or Rage of the Elements are you looking forward to the most? Outside of just the Kineticist in general, because people are very excited for that. Let me know in a comment down below, and while you're down there, please consider subscribing or joining up as a member. My members help me out a ton financially, and I really appreciate all of you. But regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.